Доброго дня.
Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odessa. We're starting for today, and now we're having with us Tatiana Mitronova, the head of the Department for Implementing of Gender Policy of the Odessa Municipal Council, and Alyona Yukhymchuk, director of the Rehabilitation Center Sofia for women and their children, victims of various forms of domestic violence of NGO Vira, Nadiya, Lyubov. That is faith, hope, and love. Can you share with us how the war has affected women's rights? I would like to welcome everyone, and first I would like to speak about history. In 1975, the UN General Assembly founded the International Women's Day, which we now celebrate on the 8th of March. Actually, I admire our women. They defend our homeland. They raise children. They make scientific discoveries and a lot of other things, inspiring us. During its independence, Ukraine has paid a lot of attention to protect women's rights and has developed its legislation. The Constitution of Ukraine guarantees equal right for everyone, and later on there was the law adopted to ensure equal rights of men and women, and in 2017 the law on counteracting home violence was adopted, and a whole range of other important regulatory acts. Ukraine also adopts international documents like the UN Convention on Liquidation of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, and we have joined Biarritz partnership and we took several liabilities like equal responsibilities of parents when caring about their children, the equal access for families and children, equal salary for men and women, the gender equality in education, and also fighting home violence and gender violence. The ratification of the well-known Istanbul Convention was a very important step in Ukraine. It is aimed at protecting women from violence and all forms of discrimination. Our city has been actively cooperating in this area to prevent home violence and gender-based violence. In Primorsky district, there was the center supporting survivors of home violence opened. There are 7 teams that provide mental care, and there is also a special police unit responding to cases of violence. We have introduced certain amendments to activities of shelters and daily centers. In Suvorov and Primorsky districts, the centers are ready to accommodate IDPs as a result of hostilities on the occupied territories of Ukraine. What centers do you mean? These are the daily centers that support survivors of home violence and gender-based violence. And these centers are now also ready to support people suffering the military or war conflict. In 2022, we opened the space Vilna, which is free, to support mental and physical recovery of women. This space also supports creativity of these women and helps to rehabilitate them. This is a very important topic now. We have also started activities to create a specialized institution for social and mental support of children following Barnahus model. What is the model? This is support of children who suffered or witnessed violence. Unfortunately, now these are frequent cases, and we need to support these children as well. In February 2023, on the basis of the maternity hospital 7 and the rehabilitation centers 4 and 5, these special cabinets for mental and physical support of internally displaced women suffering the violence as a result of the war. I believe that our city has done a lot to overcome gender discrimination, and of course it is supported by the members of municipal council and the municipal institutions. I have a question, one clarification, and perhaps you will be able to answer the question. Not Alyona. Do you have the numbers as for the general number of women who referred to organizations in Odessa, but internally displaced women who came here from the occupied territories? As for Vilna space, I think that we can get information from the people responsible from that space, from Alyona. As for the amount of referrals, the number is really significant. And it raises concerns. I can say that in 2022 alone, there were more than 11,000 calls to the police, and there are other services who receive such calls as well. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Alyona Yukhymchuk, and I'm the director of Rehabilitation Center Sofia for women and their children, victims of various forms of domestic violence, of NGO Vira, Nadiya, Lyubov, Faith, Hope, Love. I'd like to say that on the one hand, it is really bad, and we can see the increased level of domestic violence. But on the other hand, these numbers witness that women and men, they address us and other institutions. That's why I would like to have a more positive attitude. The police last year received more than 20,000 claims. More than 10,000 were verified, leading to proceedings or other activities. 20,000 person addressed the police despite the military law. And a lot of women believe that this is not the right time to share their problems related to domestic violence. Women can think that their problems are insignificant comparing to the war in the country. But we can see this number of 21,000 persons. This means that people are more inclined now to trust the police, and this is very important when it comes to preventing and fighting domestic violence, because we cooperate with the police here, and this is very important for NGOs to cooperate with public authorities, including the police, because women, it is hard for women to address to the police at the first time, but women know that there are NGOs that can support them and can demonstrate women what they can do if they don't want to address police but want to stop domestic violence. 10,000 people in the confirmed cases, and 10,000 of cases when there was no confirmed case of domestic violence, they are our beneficiaries. So we support them. When you say that the cases were not confirmed, you mean that there was no criminal proceedings? Yes. And what is meant when the case is not confirmed? What is the reason? Because that there was no evidence, or the woman was too frightened to confirm the fact of domestic violence. We know that when women get to our center, this is usually the third or the fourth case of their address to the police. We should also take into consideration that we have war now. And this is very important for people to understand that we have not forgotten about domestic violence. And this is great that we ratified Istanbul Convention, and we now wait for this convention to be implemented on the spot. Alyona, don't you think that the numbers can be less than average? Because around 100,000 of persons have joined the armed forces of Ukraine, mostly men. But if we think logically, we can see that the number could have been lower if the families had not been broken by the Russian aggression. These numbers, they show us only the third of the general picture. And we know that every negative event in the country only deteriorates the situation with the domestic violence. For example, like it was during the COVID pandemic. And now we have war, and of course the level of domestic violence has been increasing, and even more people, they keep this in secret. And actually, when it comes to the broken families, people who are now staying abroad, they also suffer domestic violence, but at the mental level, or at the psychological level, or economically grounded. And these people are not the part of your statistics. We work with them. We work with these families. We cannot speak about precise numbers because they are approximate. But thanks to the capacity of the NGOs, we have a lot of projects involving psychologists who work with people, and they can offer online or offline sessions. With the UNFPA, we have such project which is called Tato Hub, which is the Dad's Hub, where we can work with men, and also where we can detect the signs of the possible domestic violence and to prevent this. Starting from 2022, we have been working within our rehabilitation center, Sofia, for women and their children, victims of various forms of domestic violence. But we also work with the internally displaced women who lost their housing and they have nowhere to live, or they want to go abroad and then just need a temporary shelter. When we start working with this category of women, we noticed that there are a lot of women who have nowhere to stay. And we start communicating with these women, and we usually find out that most of them are the victims of domestic violence. We have such cases when a pregnant woman referred to us, and she had other children, and we had to take her third children from abusive husband who stayed in Mykolaiv. Thank you. Your NGO, Vira, Nadiya, Lyubov, I'm sorry, this is now an air raid alert, so we need to be quick with our briefing. But I have the last question. There is statistics of how many internally displaced women have referred to you, and what were the problems of them. I can speak about general statistics, about general numbers, because we have a lot of projects that deal with the internally displaced women and the cases of domestic violence. As of the 1st of February, there was almost 3,000 women who had addressed us, and we provided to them mental support, social support, and this is the number of women who have addressed our center for 1 year. But these are the women who were able to get psychological, legal support, who got accommodation. When it comes to social aspect and humanitarian aid, the number is more than 8,000 women men, and these are women alone, because we also support men and children. And if we have time, I would like to say that our NGO, Vira, Nadiya, Lyubov, has created a regional coalition, 1325 as the number of the UN resolution about peace and safety. Women plays a key role there, but this is not like a women protector according to stereotypes, but capable women who can be actively involved in the social activities of the city and of the country in general, and who can do everything possible to approximate the peace and for people to be safe in our country and to have better living conditions. And this allows us to provide targeted humanitarian support to aid people. This is really very important because during the war, the main principles are violated, especially when it comes to women. This is protection and security. And this is very important that we now have the coalition encompassing the representatives of local authorities, different departments, prominent sociologists, teachers, scientists, and women who used to be business women, and also NGOs. In Odessa, we have the biggest coalition that works to protect women's rights and also for the benefit of our country and to make peace possible. So thank you. We need to stop now because of the air raid alert, and we hope that at 1 p.m. we will be able to contact online the representatives of environmental organizations who will speak about the impact of the war on the Ukrainian soils. So please stay tuned. It might be interesting for you. Thank you.